Well, good morning and welcome to the Stroke of Genius podcast, Executive Experience. I've got a real neat guest for you today. His name is Dan Hodges. He is CEO and founder of Piece of Me, and his newest venture, which really we're going to focus on today, is called Peer Access. I'm really excited to have you meet him today because he, like we have our disabilities, we are able to impact the world. And there's no reason why any of you out there with no disabilities, you can make a difference also. So let's get right into it.
The Stroke of Genius podcast, hosted by brain aneurysm and stroke survivor Aaron Avila, sharing the experiences of survivors and CEOs. This is your destination for inspiration.
Well, good morning, Daniel.
Hi, thank you, and it's great to be with you this morning.
It is really, really great to have you here. I just tell me, introduce yourself. We only have 30 minutes together, so please introduce yourself.
Well, happily, like you said, my name is Daniel Hodges. I hold a role as co-founder with both Pieces of Me Foundation and Pure Access Consultants. You could still say a recent law graduate. I graduated last summer with and a lot of this is shaped by my experience as being born blind and also having a connective tissue disorder. So really to take the experiences I've had, which some would perceive as negative, and turning them into a way that we can create positive change and at least potential. So I'm happy to be here this morning to talk about those things with you and try to perpetuate this wave of positive momentum.
Well, I think it's really great to be an agent of change. You'll see the fluff word, be the change you want to see in the world. Guess what? We are, bro. We're both handicapped. You're blind. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm a Iranians are surviving, but we are making a difference.
Yeah, and I think it's important to get that message out there, not just for the reasons we always assume, but there is approximately of the U.S. population that has a disability, and that I would argue is even many of those disabilities or chronic conditions are invisible. So hopefully, as we are out there talking, people will feel more empowered to come out of the closet, as it were, and be able to live more authentic lives and put more of their energy into the more emphasis we put on trying to conform to some other paradigm, the less energy we have, the less potential we to actually go out there and contribute to the full extent of our capacity.
Yeah, right on, bro. Now, for the LA spenders out there, Daniel's having a little bit of streaming delays, so please read between when he phrases, just read between the lines, and he'll make it very plain. But Daniel, let's get right into it because we only have 30 minutes together. When Piece of Me and we're here today to talk to Pure Access Consulting. What is Pure Access Consulting?
So, Pure Access is a firm where my team and I can go into a business, either virtually or in person, whichever, and we can help businesses understand that being more accessible isn't just quote unquote the right thing to do, but it's a way to strengthen your business. The web presence and make sure that it's leaving a certain population of the market out in the cold. We'll look at hiring and retention practices and make sure that you are able to bring in and keep the top talent, not having things that are inadvertently filtering out people based on superfluous criteria and things that just don't really matter for the actual performance of the job.
Such as seeing something. You actually very talented, man. Look what you're doing. And you're blind. And Daniel,
Example is
you're freezing and it's for me to know when I speak. So bear with me if I override you. I'm really sorry. You're freezing a bit. But I think being handicapped myself, pure access, having you look at companies and way people could just not do the right thing, like I said, and make websites more accessible, buildings more accessible, but you actually could go in there and make it a way to generate more business.
yeah, because I think it's important that we look at things beyond just the social mandates, because businesses at the end of the day are there to make money. And if we treat inclusion as something that is in conflict with profitability, we're creating a zero sum scenario. But if we look at inclusion and accessibility as a part of creating greater profitability, then we've established an entirely different where everybody wins in a sense, and we've created this virtuous circle instead of something where people are always feeling at odds.
Well, that is really brilliant, bro. It's like I don't think I've ever because it's more of a social issue than a business issue. And really, that insight, the way of going about it and restructuring, I'm really proud of you doing that. That's original because I've never heard it before. So that's awesome.
Well, thank you. And I'll go ahead and say we are in the works of a short book or a readable book that'll hopefully the next few months that will outline this thesis a little bit more clearly and with some vignettes the experience, because the number one question I come across in this work is how do we get there? Where do we even people feel like they're running into barriers, and those are fixable. We can establish that conversation, and we can provide just some basic, I even hesitate to say the word etiquette, but just some basic framework where people feel safe coming into this space and really leveraging all of the talent that has been left on the margins.
Yeah, because in all reality, given the social aspects of you're losing talent, you're possibly losing a very qualified person, even though they may be blind or even a stroke survivor. You may be missing talent. So Daniel, tell me, what what does making like say the similar website? How can we make a website more accessible?
So there are some guidelines called the WCAG guidelines that are fairly extensive, and this is a very brief synopsis of that. So websites are not generally created in a way that is inclusive. Oftentimes developers don't know that they need to include, let's say, alt text images, which are effectively captions for screen reader users to pick up on whatever images are shared, whether they be pictures, or even sometimes when you have, blurbs of text that are turned into an image instead of into pure, without somebody going in and at least letting the AI an alt text image, or correcting it, um, we're often left outside of what is being. And I'll also mention that the artificial intelligence that, say, Google uses to prioritize search results uses that same technology, looking for text that they can sort. The bots, as they were, are not capable at this point of differentiating what is within an image. So the upshot there is that by creating alt text and making sure that whatever you're trying to convey visually is also conveyed through some sort of print, actually increases your SEO as well. So it's a pure universal design play, as it were.
So I'm assuming that, say I take the time and we do the alt text, it's in print. You're blind. So how does that work? How does being blind work?
So I am joining you today on an iPad, and all of the iOS devices that Apple makes come pre-equipped with a suite of accessibility, one called VoiceOver. And all of these, whether Samsung's TalkBack or Grader for Microsoft or some of the other tools, all of them use a technology called OCR, which basically automatically identifies the characters that are within the print and converts it into audible text. So I am able to open up a page and scroll through and have the content of the web page read aloud to me.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm gonna look into. I used a third party build yourself platform, so I don't know what they offer as far as that goes. As far as stroketvmedia.com, I'll check into it. I'll check into it. But how will making our website as business owners out there hearing this? How will we benefit? How can we benefit from making it more inclusive, more accessible?
The most straightforward way is, if you are trying to sell a product, and these days who isn't, you are at all of your blind or visually impaired customers. And by the way, that's somewhere in the area of 10 million Americans. Because even if we are interested in purchasing something on that website, if we run into barriers where buttons are not labeled properly, or there's images that are conveying material facts that we can't access, then we are often left, be discouraged from finding out more about your company in general. So that's the first thing. And the second is, if you are a job applicant and you're trying to figure out which one of these companies you want to apply to, then navigating through that website is going to tell you a lot. For right or for wrong, it's going to tell you, company going to accept me as a blind employee, or are they not? And so we could have a more robust discussion about whether or not that's assuming things one. If I'm looking at a company and deciding if I want to go through the application process, there's no way that I can just completely disregard the impressions I get as I'm navigating through an inaccessible website and saying, well, maybe their benefits package sound good. Maybe I like what they're trying to do, but if I could even make it through their website as an applicant, what would it be
Hey,
like trying?
yeah. Well, I'm curious then. I mean, I can't. I'm really what I'm hearing you say is that you say there's 10 million, right? I'm sure that number's can be much greater. And I'm not sure what it is. Just in stroke survivor world, there's over 80 million stroke survivors in the world. So if we can make if we can make things more accessible, we're opening up basically we're opening a hiring pool. But the accessibility doesn't stop the website. It's goes on to the billing, goes on to the way you treat the employee. I mean, you have to be inclusive all the way around. I'm like Jeff Hazelite, where I'm all for inclusive.
I mean, let me also say that, you know, I went out of my way to mention search engine optimization earlier, or SEO, with regard to alt text, because I don't want it to just be about, well, million people out there in the US and many, many millions more in the world who are blind or visually impaired, and leave it there. Because in reality, good design isn't saying build something special for us. Good design, how do we take all different perspectives and different access to really create a next generation of websites that have a better experience for everybody, because that's really where we ought to be going. If we're including alt properly labeled buttons and making sure that website design solve your accessibility problem, there's out there suggesting that's going to create a better overall experience and a better customer journey for everyone. So I often say that universal design is the catalyst for innovation that benefits everyone, and I think that's so true in web development.
That's really great, Daniel. So, you're happy you don't know, but I think, well, my end anyway, you're freezing down there. But so we're probably gonna cut a little bit short, but I want to get kind of a little personal with you. First, tell about Pure Access. How do people contact your organization, and give us your social media contacts?
Absolutely. So I am Daniel Hodges JD on LinkedIn, and please feel free to reach out there. Our URL for Pure Access is pureaccess, the number 4, the letter U.com. And then my email address is Daniel Hodges, all one word, 9597 at Gmail. It's a matter of public record anyway, so I might as well share it on here. And, you
Right?
know, I would say feel free to reach out, especially if you're in that position where you say, this guy, what he says is intriguing, but I don't know where to begin. Conversations I love to have, because there's magic there. There's real magic in being able to say, I'm meeting you where you are, even if you have no idea how you would ever implement any of this in your business. You're afraid of what it's going to cost. You're afraid of what it's going to take as far as your bandwidth or your all the different demands you're trying to balance. I love having that conversation with business owners, because it not only results in way with new tools, but it makes me a better advocate and a better consultant, because I'm learning along with you. We're learning how to reframe all of this so that everybody comes out ahead.
Yeah, society as a whole, even way back, they really gave no consideration for the handicap. Really, look how far we come with rails and bathrooms, and now you're taking a whole different level. You opening pure access is opening up you in the workplace, you at your websites. I mean, I'm just really proud of what you're doing. There are many people out there that all their abilities that don't impact this world. So I appreciate what you're doing, Daniel.
I us want to have people feel safety nets and feeling more empowered to go out and earn a living. There's so much power in being a part of society, like you're contributing, and beyond that, again, for businesses, you know we have real world examples of when we revisit what we think it takes to perform a task in a satisfactory manner, if we open up our minds to alternative techniques and still maintain exactly the same high standards, if not even higher standards, because you're increasing the talent pool, that's where you have people coming off the margins and actually being able to strengthen their workplaces or even create jobs themselves, because we're not so hyper focused on one or two characteristics. We're able to look at the whole person in front of us and say, this person is brilliant, working, or so, or all of these other things. And those talents forefront start to fade into the backdrop because we've been able to acknowledge them and learn how to embrace them as part of that whole human being and part of that whole employee.
That is really powerful. I'm gonna give you a prime example. I was jokingly talking with or emailing Jeff Hazelwood. And I said, Jeff, if you ever want me to open up for you at a public event, let me know. And it was a joke, but in all reality, I could do it. I could do it. I know it could, but no one would give us a chance to be who we are and just in the experience the talents. And that is where pure access for you comes in. So I think it's great. But let's take the last few minutes, if I can, ask maybe something a little more personal. Were you born blind? Okay, babe. There you go. You totally froze. You completely froze, Lisa, man. I didn't hear a word you said. To repeat it, were you born blind?
I was.
So you see nothing, no shadows, no nothing, it's black.
No, a little bit of residual vision in my left eye. Um, the more medical term would be I am severely myopic in my left eye, so very nearsighted. And the right eye, we had an incident with a surgery that kind of went. It used to have a little bit of residual vision, not much, and now it is more of a gray blur. So the eye is still trying to see, but because of the scar.
Yeah, well, I hope you're not talking again on my end. I'm not sure if my computer went, but you freeze now and then. But Daniel, I really want to say thank you for being able down the end of the program. Thank you so much and for being here. I appreciate what you're doing. And thank you on behalf of all us handicapped people for making the world a better place.
Well, thank you, and thank you for all of the work that you are doing too. And thank you for giving me this platform to come on and share a little bit about what we're doing, and help create a business executives that elevate both business and the advocacy world together.
You're welcome. I really, really appreciate it. But so for those out there that want to, I encourage you first visit Daniel on his website. And I give that website, and it is called www.pureaccess for the number 4 and the letter U.com. Visit it, so reach out to Daniel. I encourage you to do that. I mean, you really can increase your strength of the company by making it more inclusive. So, Daniel, thank you for being here. Appreciate it, bro.
Thank you for having me.
All right, bye.